Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hitmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film. My name is DJ Apollo, and we got a very, very special recording planned for today.
It's special!
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I got these two.
They're holding me here against me. I will help.
No. He's lying. Shut up, man.
Stop pointing that gun at me.
These two knuckleheads are back on my show.
Oh, we're
yet
knuckleheads
again.
now.
Yeah. I'm keeping it like PG, just like a Three Stooges episode.
I'm such a knucklehead. I helped you with 2 recordings the other day.
Oh, God. Well, you guys have been doing music episodes more often now since we've been back.
Yeah, I know. So we're gonna get back onto film, and this is actually gonna be the first time. So this is gonna be kind of like a debate, in a way.
A debate? Why did he lie to us about this?
Yeah,
you lied
I
to
don't
us.
think we agreed on this being a debate.
Okay, fine. What's our subject?
So today I thought it would be very awesome because I've noticed. So we are all Star Wars fans, okay? And I know that we've all shared. I've noticed over the years, with the last year of us talking about the Sequel Trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9, that we seem to have. I mean, we have similar viewpoints on some things, but the trilogy overall, I think all three of us have very different viewpoints in how we view these films.
Okay, I wouldn't say very different opinions.
Also, I'm just going to say right away, coming right out of the bag, we should talk about what our viewpoints on this are. For me, I absolutely hate this trilogy. I think that it is an embarrassment to Star Wars and that it could have been done so much better and it wasn't.
Woo!
Yeah,
okay, the smoke is coming out of this boy's ears.
We're starting off intense already.
Okay.
I will be fair. There are good moments in it, but it almost makes it worse because I feel like they're using the good moments in the movie to cover up the bad, and that just seems like they're insulting my intelligence.
Okay, that's his belief.
Yeah.
Me, I was more so I originally liked at least the first 2 when they came out. Then after lots of thought, I just grew more and more disappointed. So the main thing I feel with this sequel trilogy is disappointment.
Yeah, because a lot of things were, I guess, hyped up, if you will, going into this trilogy. And, my experience was that, I mean, even though the story didn't go the way I thought it should have went, I actually enjoyed all 3 of these films. And I really enjoyed, each one tried to do a different take, and I thought it was...
Why are you lying to us?
We're gonna take this boy. We're gonna knock him down off of this pedestal.
Yeah, I know. For me, it's just I had fun with all 3 of these films. I mean, and Force Awakens to me... Now, so before I go any further...
Okay, Christian, I will say Force Awakens was a fun theater experience, and I got a false sense of hope. And I'm like, you know what? They actually kind of know what they're doing. And then Last Jedi came out. I'm like, okay, well, that one, I mean, there was some miscommunication, but I'm sure they could come back from it. Rise of Skywalker burned all hope I had in this trilogy.
There was no one.
It didn't have a conclusion. That felt like a rough cut.
Yeah.
Nothing about that was fun. I was ticked.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but so before I go any further, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, so the sequel Star Wars trilogy is 3 films. You have Force Awakens, which is episode 7. Then you have Last Jedi, which is episode 8. And then Rise of Skywalker, which is episode 9. Force Awakens was released in December of 2015, and I actually still have my midnight ticket when I went to go see it.
Please stop bragging on the fact that you're a complete nerd.
Yeah, I know. Me and high school friends went to go see it. The weekend it opened at my hometown theater. I remember all of us. We all sat in line in the freezing cold for forever to see it. And
this boy tortured himself.
Yeah, to see this film. And cut to a couple years later, me and some of those same friends, we saw Last Jedi, and then for Rise of Skywalker, me and some family members went to go see it in the theater. So overall, I had a really good theater experience with all three of them. Now, look, I will admit, this is my take. I think that all three of these films were good, but they did have a lot of flaws with their story that I think could have been improved upon. Whether it's like the way characters were written, or
in
just
order
the
to
overall
have
plot.
flaws in a story, you need to have a story, something that the third movie lacks.
Yeah.
I think first, before we talk in, because there is a long story as to how this trilogy turned out as it did, and I think we need to start at the beginning.
Yeah, so
at the pre-production.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say,
absolutely.
so for anyone who doesn't know, so Lucasfilm was the owner of everything Star Wars related, but I believe it was in 2014, George Lucas...
2013.
2013, George Lucas sold all the Star Wars rights to Disney.
Not just that, the whole company.
He didn't give the rights. He gave Lucasfilms everything. It all went to Disney.
Oh, so the
it's how they
whole-
also got Indiana Jones and whatnot.
And
Oh.
Willow, which is a
Willow.
good movie, by the way. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out.
Yeah, but so yeah, George Lucas sold the entire company. If I remember right, he was just ready to kind of like move on, just like take a back seat, and he didn't want to be the head of a company. So Disney offered him a lot of money, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll go ahead and give it to him." And he even, when he left, he had an outlined plot for how he saw the future of Star Wars in a trilogy of 3 more films. He gave that to them and said, "I recommend, here's an outline if you intend to pick it up again or go with something new." So that happened. Then pre-production started. So as many people know, the directors between Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens were different from Last Jedi. J.J. Abrams directed episodes 7 and 9, while Rian Johnson took over for Last Jedi, the 8th film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not uncommon in bigger series for a different director to take in, like an excellent example is the Harry Potter series, 8 films. I believe it was 4 directors. Each, I believe it was Chris Columbus, Alfonso. God, I can't remember the rest of them off the top of my head, but they had different directors. But the biggest place where this failed was Disney has outright admitted they abandoned the entire original line of story that George Lucas gave them, and they did not have Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams talk about where they wanted the plot going. And that is not how you do a multi-series production.
Mm-hmm.
That you need to have that planned out. You need to have at least what these story beats are going to be. Because if they wanted to change tones and whatnot and different styles, that's perfectly fine. That was the main problems in pre-production is that Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams had very different ideas as to where this plot should go. They conflicted, and Disney just let it happen. Which that is a failure as a company and as a distributor of multimedia projects. So that is where this whole series failed in pre-production. So, but now it's time for the ugly part. We get into these movies.
Yep, and we're going to go in order. So I guess I'll start off. So for me, my favorite out of the new trilogy was Force Awakens. That movie, for me, is like top 3 greatest theater experiences of all time. And that's the film I've gotten the most emotional in when I went, most emotional when I was watching it in the theater. And nothing has topped it since, like, it was just so mesmerizing to me. And I still think it holds up, now. And I was very honored that I got to see it. What was your take on Force Awakens?
Okay, Preston, you go ahead and start.
All right, so I'm really going to be playing devil's advocate on this recording,
Not really.
kind of.
It's honestly him who's playing devil's advocate saying good. You and I best share
Like,
same
well,
yeah, I
opinions.
know.
Because I can give it the benefit of the doubt in certain situations. Like, I remember going into the theater and seeing Force Awakens and being super excited to finally be able to see a Star Wars movie in theaters for the first time ever. That is a really exciting moment when those title credits come up and you've got that iconic thing. And after Force Awakens, I honestly felt like it was okay. Like, was it the best Star Wars movie ever? No.
No
but I also
way.
didn't feel like it needed to be. Like,
No,
they did it fairly well.
So a big thing that I say with Force Awakens, like, a lot of my friends complained that it was too similar to A New Hope, and while I do agree with that, I didn't see that necessarily as a bad thing.
Well, and you
because
also...
we haven't
sorry.
had... yeah, just let me finish real quick. Chris, can you look up, when did Revenge of the Sith come out?
2005.
Thank you. So we haven't had really any new Star Wars, at least in the film sense, in 10 years. While we have had the Clone Wars that was on Cartoon Network, not many people, at least outside of younger audiences who watch Cartoon Network, saw that. So in the biggest scope, we haven't had anything new Star Wars in 10 years. So we need something to really segue, bring in the old crowd and some new ones with a very familiar plot line. Something that can get behind and let us jump off into a new direction. So the fact that it was very similar to A New Hope and its plot being we meet character on desert planet, they get called to an adventure, they start learning about the Force, then there comes to a giant space station that can destroy planets and they blow it up. It is, in that rough cut, exactly the same.
Well, and, like, also, that wasn't the only mainstream series at the time that was kind of doing a reboot like that. Like, without it really being a reboot, like, doing similar structure. Because, like, 2010s was very much known for the fan service stuff. Like,
oh, yeah.
Especially later on, because it's, like... I mean, think about the last Jurassic Park movie they did. Like, there was fan service all over the place.
Oh, yeah,
and
it was Jurassic World.
There was very reminiscent of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, that was just a thing that was happening. Like,
yeah,
so I was just like, okay.
It was a very familiar plot line with some differences to lead us into... So, at least with that sense, I can't say for certain. I haven't seen any of the more recent Jurassic Park films outside of Jurassic World. I didn't see Fallen Kingdom or what was the new one that came out recently?
I actually don't know. You have to look that up. But that was the third one out of that trilogy. Was actually my favorite. I thought
it's his favorite, but he doesn't remember its name.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like it'd be
Chris.
I just thought that was the best one. Dude, they brought back the OG trio from the first film. Like that alone was enough for me. I loved it.
So nostalgia bait gets you every time.
No, not just that. I just loved the story. I thought it was good. Those two factors alone was enough to buy me over. It's like I just like that was the reason why I liked this new trilogy. I just go in. I just don't care. I mean, like I just think that these movies are very good entertainment, like they should be. I don't take them like necessarily like seriously, you know. But again, there were things that I think could have been improved upon. So now we get back to Force Awakens. So, like they said, I do agree. There was a lot of similarities to New Hope in this one, but like Aidan said, though, they were trying to reunite the new fans and the older ones while introducing new ones all at the same time, and I think this movie did it perfectly. Right. And I gotta ask you though, guys, so like spoiler alert, I know the movie is pushing 8 years old at this point, but what did you think of Han Solo's death scene?
Okay.
Predictable.
At that point, I was a lot younger and I was super emotional because Han Solo, and I thought for certain, because at this point I still had faith in Disney's insight. Like I thought for sure they had a plan, and they were like, surely they are not going to take this for granted. They're going to do something to make this like a critical plot point. So at that point, I thought it was well done. I'll talk about what I thought later on this same point. But yeah, like I thought it was well done. The cinematography was good on it.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too.
Yeah, like the cinematography, while it was good, in terms of the plot, it just never did it for me. Like I was just like, oh my god, Han Solo's died. But just as more of it goes on, and especially as the later films came out, the emotional toll it took on me got weaker and weaker. And at a certain point, it just felt like it was a complete cop-out. And understandably, because Harrison Ford, who plays Han Solo, he's never liked the character, so he really wanted Han to die.
Yeah,
like he wanted him to die in Empire Strikes Back. But when they wrote it so that he'd come back, he was willing to come back to finish off the trilogy. But when they were greenlighting the sequels, he was like, I will do one. So they end up killing him off. So it makes sense, but I feel like it could have been handled so much better.
Yeah, and I will admit, though, like Mark Hamill, who plays Luke Skywalker, even brought this up. I was really sad that we couldn't have at least gotten one scene with, like, Leia, Han, Luke, and Chewie, like, and Landau, like, all in the same room together.
Yeah.
That was something I wish we could have gotten, but it didn't really bother me that much. Like, the story that they were trying to tell, I can't imagine how that would have happened. You know, like,
Yeah.
they could only, like Harrison said, you'd only do one more film. So it's like, I don't know how they could have, like, written a scene like that to happen within the first film. I feel like that would have been too early.
Well,
They
It would have been impossible.
No, if they restructured the plot and at least handled Luke in a different way, it could have been possible. But with the way they were writing how the story was playing out in the first one, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, but overall, though, did you guys like... So, this is another thing I want to ask you. What did you think of the new characters that Force Awakens introduced that we were going to follow throughout this trilogy?
Completely forgettable.
So
they barely gave them any character or background at all.
So
like they brought them to us and then killed them or did nothing with them.
So to clarify, so the trilogy basically introduces us to like the main trio, if you will, in these series is Rey,
Finn,
Poe, and Finn. Mm-hmm. And they're like the main three of this trilogy. Like,
hang on, real quick, I want to add, these three are the main people, and they are not in the same room until the very last film.
Yeah,
and then they're only in the same room for about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
also, they were so memorable, and you like these movies so much, you had to think to come up with Finn's name.
nah, because I haven't seen these in a while, actually. I haven't seen
That's
any
the
of
That's
them.
still the point. Look,
I haven't
can
seen the other Star Wars in a
Take
while.
from the other two trilogies. We have the original. Everyone can instantly identify Luke, Han, Leia. Original trilogy. Then came the prequel trilogy. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme. There you go. How long did that take you to recall Finn, Rey, and Poe?
Rey,
Well, I'm saying...
Finn, and Poe.
Well, I know. I just had to stop and think about the names for a minute, but now...
Because they're so forgettable.
Yeah, I mean, that's open to interpretation, okay?
Our interpretation is you had to pause and think about Star Wars character while every other Star Wars character
All
that
right.
is famous, anyone
Comes
who
to mind just like boom.
you could go off to the first person on the street in Chicago and ask them, hey, what's this Star Wars character? And if it's any of them for those trilogies, they're going to know.
Yeah, I get it. But now, so I got to ask you guys the big question, right? How do you think so overall, I think we all agree the first film was a good starting point, but is there anything you would have changed?
Preston, do you want to start or shall I?
Okay. So I guess we're going to segue into this. So I read a book, well, technically listened to on Audible.
Holy God,
but
he
it
read a
was
book?
called... Yeah, I know, it's pretty shocking. Star Wars Shadow of the Sith. And this was basically a book that was designed to fill in the gaps and plot holes of this trilogy and tell the story of how Rey was stranded on Tatooine and what happened to her parents and why she was chasing. Or Jakku. See, that's my
Jakku.
point exactly.
It's a rip-off.
We were talking about this. They're just the same planets with different names. It might as well be Tatooine, but it's Jakku. But anyway, and I listened to this whole book and I'm like, you know what? If they made this the first movie, then left Force Awakens as is, they could just do a little bit of tweaking to writing in The Last Jedi, and that could have been a really good end to the trilogy. But they didn't, and that's why the third movie just looks like a rough cut where they haven't even finished shooting yet.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what were your problems with Force Awakens?
So my problems with The Force Awakens, honestly, I didn't have any other than the fact, because all the problems I got with that movie were only because of what I learned after the whole thing had come out about the production plan.
So
my problem with it is that they had that beginning and they had no end planned for it. So they were just kind of going along and making stuff up.
Okay.
Yeah, because like they kind of went going off of Aidan's information that he gave us earlier. This film, the trilogy already was going in with like the wrong mindset.
It's the exact wrong way you go into this. Like,
and I guess
everyone who creates, whether it be films, TV, books, comics, whatever, if you're making a story, you need to know one specific thing before you start. How does my story end? Because anyone knows, you more often than not, you work backwards from there.
Yeah, exactly.
You can, if you have like plot points in mind in the middle of the story, that's okay. You can keep those on the side for when you're getting the process going. But the biggest thing you need to know your you need to know your endpoint, so you know where every piece fits in to get to that end goal.
Right.
And I guess the biggest thing I could say as far as the actual visual movie is just that I feel like they could have been more creative with the planets. I just think that like they could have gone the same route as they did, but maybe not have an obvious desert planet that is just copying Tatooine. Like, or have maybe a jungle planet or something more exotic, something different.
Or the forest planet that's not Endor.
It literally just looks like... Or the snow
planet that on Starkiller Base that's not Hoth.
Yeah. I do like that they had Crate in it, though, with all the salt mines.
Oh, yeah, the salt? Yeah, and, well, that was
That was in
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that one, because I got some of at least the design of the planet.
Yeah,
So,
sorry about that.
Now, Aidan, what was your take? How would you have changed out the story?
Okay, first off, like, I'm not going to go deep, because I know we wanted to save more big changes till the end of the episode. But one of my biggest problems was the way they handled Poe. That person he is meant to be one of the members of the trio. He has no screen time. Yet we see him in the opening, he gets captured, Finn helps him escape, then we do not see him until the very end of the film. And then he barely has anything there. He's just classic flying around scenes, but the plot's not really with him. It's a star fight happening above. The main plot's down here. I'm just flying around. Hey, I do destroy Starkiller Base like Luke, but it's still like he's not here. He's not in the story. So it feels like he's just kind of here. He's not actually a part of the story.
And also, going off of that with Poe, just briefly mentioning this, they don't... By the time you get to the third movie, they are still developing his character. By the time you're at the third movie, all of your main characters should already be developed.
Yeah, no, that's, like I said, more problems. Like, they were so focused on, at least in this one, Rey and Poe, but giving nothing. Like, even in the original ones, like, Leia and Han were not that developed in the first one of A New Hope. But they got more development in the second one, as we didn't need much of Luke's growth in that one, because this was his training arc of the story. So the main character development went to them. And then again, when we got to Last Jedi, it still didn't do that. We kept staying with Rey and developing her. So then by the time we get to the third movie, Poe and Finn have had little development.
Yeah, and going off of that, and I do have to agree, though, that is one of my main problems. As far as the character writing goes, Finn could have been done a lot better. Like, think about this for a minute. Have you seen Mandalorian Season 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know the episode?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That features Bill Blur's character?
Yep. He goes through a better ex-Stormtrooper arc in 10 minutes than Finn got in three movies.
Like, think about that for a minute.
Finn didn't even get a Stormtrooper arc. It literally just he escapes, and then Phasma gets angry at him in particular for some reason.
For no reason, because he is literally shown to just be a generic grunt, and not even that. Because when they're invading Starkiller Base, when he and Han are going to Starkiller Base,
he's a
to find
custodian.
Rey, he's the janitor.
And it's also revealed later that there are more stormtroopers that escaped. She had literally no reason to single him out at all.
Yeah, it's just, like, that's more problems for later on. But, like, I also want to talk about Finn, because when I saw, like, in the first teaser for this film that came out, which was a desert planet, and John Boyega just popping up in stormtrooper gowns and just, like, breathing, just like looking around. Then we see some I believe it was TIE fighters flying above, just so we know, yep, new Star Wars is coming. I was so intrigued, because I'm just like, this character has to be so super important, because he is the first thing we've seen. He is the first character we've seen from new Star Wars. And oh my God, he's a stormtrooper? What is going on?
Right.
And then he does nothing.
Yep.
He's a stormtrooper for about 5 minutes.
He's a stormtrooper for 5 minutes, and then it has the rest of his arc had nothing to do with the fact that he was a stormtrooper. It was just someone that's just like, when they need to know something about the Imperial, I was a janitor, but I know everything about the Imperials. I know the layout and everything of Starkiller Base.
Yeah. And then they find out he's a custodian. And it's like, I feel like they should have made him a more important stormtrooper.
My thing, like, I just want to go ahead and say this. My thing for Finn, I would not have made him a nobody in the First Order. He is a grizzled veteran. He has been in this war for a long time, and Phasma is not his commanding officer. She's his friend. Mm-hmm. And that makes the betrayal hit so much more, and it's why she has it out for him, because this was someone that they had mutual respect for each other, and he defected.
That actually would have been pretty interesting. That would have been interesting. I'd be down for that.
It goes further on. And then my other biggest gripe, so I don't want to come off as like a really obsessed fanboy, but this series breaks the series magic system. So I am big into writing and the way you handle magic systems. And this story breaks every rule that has been established.
Just to clarify, when you say magic system, are you talking about the way the Force works?
Yes. So,
okay.
So let me just. Oh, do you got something?
I was going to say that. So I believe, are we getting into Rey now?
Yeah. This is a bit of a segue into Rey, but something I do want to mention about this. These are. This comes from Brent Sanderson. He is a phenomenal fantasy writer, and he has published essays on how you write magic systems, and they are true. And one of the biggest things that you have is how you define hard and soft magic systems. The Force is a hard magic system that has clearly defined rules. And you need those clearly defined rules because you use those rules to set the stakes and what the characters are capable of. And when these rules are established and you break them, there needs to be clear reasons why they are broken. Otherwise, the audience is cheated. And that's what this story does. And that's in the big thing when Rey is captured and uses the Jedi mind trick.
And just to clarify, so Rey, we don't know her last name yet.
No.
Up until this point, and she's played by Daisy Ridley, which I have to say, though, for what the actress was given, I thought she was phenomenal.
Here's the thing that I want to say, like, all the actors with what they did the absolute best they could do with what they were given.
Yeah, 100%. And I thought she was one of the best characters.
I thought she had potential, but she was not the best character for me.
Yeah, I'm just, strictly speaking on this trilogy, I found Rey to be one of the highlights.
Yes.
In a lot of aspects, there were some things that kind of broke the rules, like you were saying.
So the reason why I want to say this is a big thing with Rey using the Jedi mind trick, I can forgive most of what all happens in this film, at least with Rey's ability to use the Force.
Right.
Excuse me.
You're good.
So take it, the Skywalker lightsaber calling out to her. That one I was perfectly intrigued by because they've established in more of the books that expand the universe that the Force can call out to people through items and whatnot. And that raises more questions of Rey's backstory and who she is, which that's a really good idea. Then some of her being able to roughly pull Force objects, but with great resistance, and those are really her main things that I can believe. But what I can't was the Jedi mind trick. That is a very, very advanced skill that is used in the Jedi Order. Luke wasn't able to do that until even attempt to do it until the third film in the original trilogy, after he had done a lot of training. They have established that this is a technique that must be learned. Rey, who is up to this point believed the Force was a myth and the Jedi were just a myth, she can now use one of the most advanced techniques.
With no training whatsoever.
No knowledge in how to use the Force. Like, even in the first film, Luke had a bit of experience with the Force because Obi-Wan had taught him basically how you can trust the Force to guide your movement.
Right.
But you can't use it to guide a technique. That has to be learned.
Yeah, fair enough. But now, going off of, the ending lightsaber scene between her and the villain Kylo Ren, how did you think that was handled?
She should not have won that fight. Because there is no saying it was a draw or a stalemate. Rey won the fight, and you do not do that.
And that's a problem for me, is Kylo Ren was made out to be weak. And it's like, he is a Skywalker. He is not a weakling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
so here's the thing, like, also back on like why Rey should lose. This is basic writing with the story structure of the hero's journey. You never have it where, like, you can have the main antagonist and hero meet in the first film. You can do that.
You
That's
can do
perfectly
that.
allowed.
That's fine.
But you can't have the hero win. They need to lose or, like, be very close, and then something else breaks up the duel. Like, if they had it so that Rey was on the losing end and got attacked and gave her the scar on the face, that would have been really cool. And then have the planet split apart, it raises the intimidation of Kylo Ren, makes him seem so much more of a threat. He overwhelms her. Like, take in Empire Strikes Back, Luke's first duel with Darth Vader. It is a completely one-sided match. At the start of the fight, Darth Vader is just playing with Luke to see how much he's learned. Then once he sees what Luke has learned and he's actually putting up a bit of a fight, Darth Vader starts amping it up a notch, and he completely overwhelms Luke.
He toyed with him.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, on top of that, he straight up takes Luke's hand.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
like-
He cut it off effortlessly. He took away one of the most important things in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
He took it away, and he broke Luke with that defeat. And that's why it's so much more impactful when he comes back in the next film so much stronger, and they have the rematch, as Luke is now a much more experienced fighter and he is stronger, and now you get to see him triumph. The fact that they
definitely.
had Rey win the fight robs the viewer of that triumph, that feeling. It's exactly how you don't write. You write in service of your audience, and a lot of the writing takes away the service just to make Rey the most powerful Jedi, and they rob her of the hero's journey. They rob her of a good story.
Yeah,
And the thing is, you could still make her the most powerful Jedi later, but
You
that
have
doesn't
to
mean you
have
have to
her-
know
yeah.
that in the first
Yeah,
movie.
you have to.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I want to mention, like, with the idea of Rey being the chosen one, like, of being the most powerful, like, George Lucas said in his original rough draft of the sequel trilogy that he gave to Disney when he sold Lucasfilm, he actually said it was going to end with the revelation Leia is actually the chosen one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was just it, and okay, you can build to that, but she was still going to need to go through another journey similar to Luke's for her to build up to being worthy of that role, just like
Right.
Luke did, and
Right.
just like Anakin did in the prequels. Like, you need to build up to that point.
Yeah.
Rey starts off too powerful. You can't. That is a big no-no when it comes to writing.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And some of your rewrite of the ending, I think that would have been
Wait,
way more intense.
This wasn't a rewrite of the end.
With-
no, I
with-
think
with
he's talking
Kylo-
about with Kylo winning and marking her with
Yeah,
the star.
yes. You see,
Oh.
that would have been pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I would have
like-
liked that personally.
like-
yes.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like, it's like my personal favorite duel in that movie was Finn versus Kylo Ren. I prefer that because like we see a stormtrooper truly stand up to the embodiment of the order he has left.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he holds it. He manages to slightly hold his own, but he is still completely overwhelmed. Like it is a completely one-sided duel. Then Rey gets the saber, and then it's instantly even playing fields, and she wins the fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't even. She showed
she didn't.
She showed him up.
She didn't take any damage. She strikes him, I think, 3 times, and wins the duel.
And he was already wounded before this fight even started.
Yeah,
yeah.
If they wanted to have that wound that he had and then completely overwhelm Rey, that makes Kylo even more stronger and so much more intimidating. Because while injured, he is still dangerous. Because like he had the blaster shot from Chewie when Han killed. Kylo got him in the shoulder. Finn, got him in the shoulder. And then I think Rey got him again before the final, before she cut the face. And that would have worked really well to show he can be wounded and he still is very powerful.
Yeah,
and then what was the whole thing with him beating the wound that Chili gave?
Well, it was kind of like
Chewie gave him.
So it's a thing with a bit of lore, so a bit of nerd. Like it's plasma, so it burned, and it was just like a way of like it's hurting and just like hitting it to like just relieve the pain and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Like that's all it basically was.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so at the end of the film, Han is killed by Kylo Ren, and you find out that Kylo Ren is Han and Leia's son.
Yes.
And Kylo Ren is the main villain of this trilogy.
Here's the thing I want to say, at least with the idea of the main villain being Han and Leia's kid. I was actually really on board because that's actually how it went in the Legacy books. The main hero that was in those was Han and Leia had twins, and the son, who was, I believe it was Jay was his name in the books. I can't remember. I'm not as versed in these. He became the new Darth Lord, and their his twin sister, she was the one who trained and fought him in that story.
Yes, that would have been.
And if they adapted that to, instead of making Rey a Palpatine, make her a Solo, make her a lost sibling.
Yeah, definitely. That would have been cool. Right. And so, in the movie ends where Rey finds Luke on his island
and presents the Skywalker saber,
and then that's the ending.
And cutting, implying that we're now getting ready for Rey's training arc, where she will learn from the old master and grow into a new great Jedi.
Yeah,
and where does this leave us?
And so we thought. So now we are going to cut 2 years later.
And I want to also remember another thing. Finn was hurt, and he is in a coma right now, and it's no confirmed time as when he's going to wake up.
Right.
So let's start with that.
Yeah, let's start with that. So now we got 2 years later. It's now December of 2017, and we have the release of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, a very anticipated sequel to pick up the story where things left off. I think most of us going into this are pretty excited.
Oh God! I remember. Like my biggest theory going into this one, because I remember one of the trailers that I saw for this one had Luke saying it's time for the Jedi to end, and then with the title, The Last Jedi, for me, I was so ready for he has learned that the old ways of the Jedi Order don't work, and we were going to learn how him trying to adhere to the old ways is what brought Kylo Ren in this new age of dark, even after they defeated the Empire. I was thinking, oh, wow, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And we're going to lead into what is commonly referred into the Lord of the Universe, the Gray Jedi, one Jedi who exist outside of the Council but still fight on the same principles.
Yeah.
I was excited for that.
Yeah.
And Preston, what was your mindset going into this?
No, I had the same thing because, like I said, with these first 2 movies, I gave them the benefit of the doubt because I had hope that Disney would actually have a chance to pull this off.
And even nowadays, and they can still work on their own, and they had aspects that were very worthwhile. What really ruined the sequel trilogy, which we'll get into later, was how they wrapped it up with the 3rd film.
And I want to make this clear. I'm not we aren't doing this to accuse anybody. I do not blame
Here's the thing.
The
what it is.
director for that third
Yeah.
movie, like he did the best he could. He really
Yeah,
did.
like-
And we will get into that. So speaking of director, thank you, Preston. Now, this movie was not directed by J.J. Abrams. This one was directed by Ryan Johnson, who what was his name again?
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson. Okay, it's been a while since I've looked him up, and he's done other films. Like he did Knives Out,
Glass Onion,
Onion,
Looper. I believe he directed episodes of the X-Files.
Yeah.
He is a well-established director.
Yeah, so
And I love just about all of his works. He is a great creator. And one thing I want to say about this, I actually liked elements I did. Like, for one, making Rey a nobody.
Yeah.
I loved that. Because the biggest problem that especially the prequel trilogy did was make it feel like you needed to be a part of a powerful family to be a powerful Jedi.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson took that away and said anyone can be a great hero. Anyone can be a Jedi. They just have to be willing to do what is right. And I love that.
And that was one of the main things that I liked going into this, because like a lot of people said that this movie was kind of a gotcha thing, where it's like you think that all these questions are going to be answered, then like gotcha, but like but it's
you
like,
know what a gotcha movie is.
here-
The next one.
No, here's the thing. Like with that, thing of a gotcha, that's actually something in J.J. Abrams style. This is a term of him writing mysteries and having questions hidden from the audience. He uses what's called the mystery box style, which is basically you have a box, you don't know what's inside the box, but the idea of knowing what's in the box is all that drives you. So you can change it to be whatever it is in the box. And when you show what's in the box, everyone's going to be happy because now they know what was in the box.
right.
But that comes with a problem. Because, look, you can work that if you have it set from the beginning what is inside the box. And because of the fact that the story wasn't planned out between all the directors, they had to keep changing what was in the box. Like, the first film implies that, and in this case, what's in the box is Rey's identity. Who is she? And the first one implies heavily that she is either a Solo or a Skywalker. That's what it implies. Then Ryan Johnson, in his way of wanting to get rid of the idea that bloodlines matter in making powerful Jedi, he makes Rey a nobody. Then you have the third one, because Disney didn't like how Last Jedi played out. J.J. Abrams didn't like it. So they changed what was in the box to Rey's actually a Palpatine. Mm-hmm. And that's just what doesn't work.
Right, and we'll get more into that here in a minute. So getting back to the main story of this film, so there's a lot to really go into, because this is where this film really divided the Star Wars fans.
Oh, yes.
Like, dude,
I think it is fair to say this is the most divisive Star Wars movie. Would you guys agree?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, it's very diverse. And, dude, it was I'll never forget when this came out. There was a good year and a half of just nonstop people just going off on. There's millions of videos you can find on YouTube of people talking about how much they hated it. It's just non-stop.
Or ones like me. So here's the thing. I went from decently liking this movie when I first saw it in theaters to absolutely hating it. After thinking about it, and then after thinking about it some more, and after Rise of Skywalker came out, it is actually, despite its flaws, my favorite of the sequel trilogy.
And yeah, for me, my walking out of the theater on this one, it took me at least a week to really, because it was so different. Mm-hmm. It's not that I disliked it. It was just
it was very different.
So it took me a while to really think about it, and I'm like, you know what? I liked it. Yeah. It took me a while. I really had to think about the story and everything else, and overall I liked it. Preston, what was your take on this?
I certainly appreciated his effort to kind of change things up a little bit, use different planets. I liked the way he made Kylo Ren the supreme leader, because I did like that fight with Snoke.
Yeah, like with the Praetorian Guards at the end of the film.
Yes, I thought that was really creative.
Yeah,
I
just want to say, like, this is just funny to me. Like, while the set piece of Kylo Ren and Rey versus the Praetorian Guards is really cool, I can't watch it with a straight face because it is one of the worst fight choreography I have ever seen.
Yeah, Aidan,
Like,
I knew
if you take that scene and go frame by frame, or just go down to like watching it at 0.5 speed, you see all the errors, like, of missed timings so many times. Like, the Praetorian Guards are just running around and just twirling and whatnot to get back on time because someone's off time and making wrong moves, or just the moves are poorly choreographed. It's just, I can't watch it with a straight face.
Well, I think it's funny. I had a feeling you were going to bring that up because there's a YouTube video that you can watch, I believe, on YouTube, where a person, like, he goes through frame by frame and I think I haven't seen it personally, but I think it's somewhere in the internet you can find a video of someone going by the frames,
like my personal favorite, there's this YouTube channel crew called Corridor. They do a lot of short films and whatnot on YouTube. They have a side one channel called the Corridor Crew, where they'll talk about the production of things, or they'll bring on specialists and talk about production movies, and they bring stuntmen on to react and break down scenes. And they did this scene, and even stunt choreographers hate this scene just because they can see every single flaw.
Yeah, and so the story itself, so I would like to get into the characters for a minute with this film, because so I think the first character, okay, so the obvious elephant in the room, how did you guys think Luke was handled?
So Luke, I didn't like the way he took, like, that really powerful moment from the first movie and then took that lightsaber and just kind of chucked it over his shoulder. Like, no, I'm not going to train you. I get his reasoning behind not training, but I feel like that was a little too goofy of a way to do it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I thought you were going to say, like, I didn't like that was his character, that he didn't want to train, but I can see that, like, the way he did it, like, I would have more just have him, instead of tossing it, he just dropped it and walked away.
Or like use the Force and just kind of put it back in her hand. Like, you could have some humor in there a little bit with that, but don't just chuck it over your shoulder like that.
Like, so what'd you feel of, like, him being, like, more of a broken Jedi? What'd you think of that?
I did appreciate that. I liked it. It was a good twist. I just, like, the way they were presenting him was the way I had the problem with, like, when it came to him, like, and his refusal to train. They could have done that better. And, like, the fact that she was just, like, following him through his whole daily routine was just kind of weird.
Yeah, like, I can get that.
Yeah, and my whole thing, me and my best friend, like, it took me a while, but he brings up a really good point. Luke, main trilogy, I'm not going to kill my father, but my nephew, no problem.
Yes. That is definitely a problem. Like, I'll get to it when it's my turn.
It's just like, he reads his mind one time and he thinks he's not worth saving. I'm like, Luke, you fought to the nail to save your father, who has killed probably millions of people at this.
Bit of an over-exaggeration, but your point stands.
Like, Vader, like, your dad was Vader for 2 full decades, 20 plus years, and he caused the death and suffering of how many people, and you fought to the nail to save him. And then, your nephew,
I have bad dream.
You're dead. Adios. You know, like,
and that's what made him turn.
Yeah, it's just like, what?
Like, I get what Johnson was going for with that, which was that Luke and his hastiness to keep a good Jedi Order and do perfect things is what drives Kylo Ren to become Kylo Ren. But that is just wrong.
Yeah, it's just like, that did not fit his character at all to me. Like you're like.
If anything, he could have had it where it was another student that
Like-
Kylo saw him like attempting to like take out
Like,
that he'd been
or-
training for a long time and was afraid of.
I would have thought maybe the legacy of Kylo Ren being a part of the Skywalker bloodline and Luke in him like showing a bit of favoritism towards Kylo Ren, he kind of keeps turning a blind eye to Kylo Ren and his growing drawing towards the dark side, and then only to realize until it's too late and Kylo's burned down Luke's order, and that's why Luke becomes a recluse, because he realized he is truly responsible for what happened. It was his pride. Like, he was like, it was my family. I turned a blind eye because I thought we were better. And that's what shut him down. And then it also plays into the needing of being in a family not needing to be in a family bloodline to be a great Jedi, but thinking yourself higher because you are from a great bloodline is what can lead to a great downfall.
Yeah, and like I liked the idea. I mean, like I feel like they were it kind of felt like the movie Logan a little bit. It was like the hero we once knew is now an old, depressed man who made a lot of mistakes. That was good, but Logan's execution was flawless. Luke's, however,
was full
of problems.
The biggest thing also why that I didn't like it as much was the humor that was interjected, which made sense why the humor was there. It was because this was a much darker story than we were getting, and Rian Johnson wanted to counter it a little bit by injecting a little bit of humor, because you don't want to go to a movie and just go depression. It's just not a good feeling. So you need to have something to break it up.
Right.
But
right,
I feel like
absolutely.
what they could have done was going, and I'll explain more, was in Finn and Poe's journey, put the humor there, but leave Luke and Rey with the very serious tones.
And so now that we've really gotten into Luke, how about we go ahead and get into the other characters? So now so as far as the new characters go, Rey, Poe, and Finn, how do you think they were handled in this movie?
Well,
And we can
Finn
go
wasn't
in
really
any
handled at all, to be honest. He was just kind of there. It's like they forgot what they were going to do with him.
Yeah, so the biggest thing was it was clearly obvious. It was clearly obvious in Force Awakens that Finn was meant to be set up as a stormtrooper turned Jedi, but then they are completely abandoning this plot line. So it felt like, they didn't know what they wanted to do with Finn. They kind of just made so that he's following Rey around, kind of like a lost puppy.
Yeah, he does kind of do that, and I will say that I appreciate what Rian Johnson was trying to do, bringing that other character in, Rose.
Rose, yeah.
And she got unfair hatred from the fans.
There was one legitimate problem with her character, and that was at the very end of the film when Finn was willing to do his suicide run to take out the Death Star beam to protect the rebellion, and she chose not to let that happen.
Yeah.
It's like that element of her character completely justifiable, because she was willing to doom remember, the rebellion is left with nothing more than a skeleton crew at this point.
And she was willing to doom the entire thing to save one guy.
That she's only
That's
known
gonna die anyway.
for a few hours.
For one day. Day.
And is going to probably die anyway because you just doomed the entire rebellion.
Because also remember, even if she saved them, she destroys both their vessels, and they have to walk all the way back.
Yeah.
And, but with that being said, the actress didn't deserve that hatred.
No,
People didn't like the character, so they were harassing her.
That's just I could go into that, but that's a whole different problem with social media and whatnot.
Yeah. So just to clarify what Press is talking about, the actress who played Rose sadly did receive a lot of very awful and hateful comments and messages on social media platforms, and I actually think she had to quit her platforms for a while because of all the hate she was getting.
Yeah, no, and it was very upsetting that was how people reacted to that.
Yeah, and that was just horrible. But that's all we're gonna say on that topic.
Another
But-
bright point, though.
Shoot.
The very beginning, I loved the space scene, the way they had Poe flying around, wrecking all of those ships. I thought that was really cool.
And the interesting idea for them needing to use this bombing run as a distraction because because the First Order, after the attack on Starkiller Base, they know where they are. Kind of like how the Empire knew where the rebellion was on Yavin 4 in A New Hope. They need to get out of there. So
Yeah.
Poe leads that bombing run to buy time so they can get everyone out.
And also, I have to admit though, I thought this film did a better job with Poe's character because the first film he was just a hotshot good guy. This film, I think, humbled his character a lot because
there were parts of that.
Yeah, but so for me, it's like the bombing run. It's like Leia's telling him, "Okay, the distraction's done. We can leave now," and he's letting his ego. It's like we have the super destroyer right there. We can take it out. We're not leaving yet, and that's when he calls in all the bombers
and
to
and
take
it leads
the ship
to
out.
and it's a massive amount of losses because of that.
Yeah.
And yes, that is a good humbling experience. So I do agree with that.
And they get, Poe gets back. Like, Leia's happy the ship's destroyed, but I love the shot. She looks down at the console. All the bombers were destroyed.
Yeah, like
it was way too big a cost. And when Poe gets back, Leia literally demotes him. Like, he's like, what did I do wrong? Do you see all the people that you just got killed because you didn't listen to my orders?
Yes, and I do understand that.
And I loved that whole scene because, Poe may be a hotshot, but Leia's reminding him
This
the
isn't
boss.
this isn't a place for a hot shot.
exactly, and I loved that very much that he was reminded of his place.
Yeah. And do you mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is a thing. This is also going to go into my least favorite character in this film, Holdo.
Oh, yeah.
So-
So, for anyone who doesn't know, Holdo is played by the actress who played the main girl in the first Jurassic Park, Lauren something.
Yeah.
Can you look it up right quick?
Yeah, I got it.
She's a very famous actress. She's been in a lot of good films in her career, and she plays Holdo, who takes over. So what happens in the story? So after Poe and the rest of the rebels get back to the main ship, Kylo Ren takes
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern, thank you. Kylo Ren takes a group of fighters outside the ship, TIE fighters, and they do a bombing run on the main ship, and his ships blow up the bridge, and Leia and several other rebels were blasted out into space.
Leia gets her Mary Poppins moments.
Yeah, you see, granted, it did look a little silly, but I was okay with
No,
it.
it
Look,
looked
here's-
very silly.
No, it's just I get what they were doing, but the way it looked was so stupid. I didn't have a problem with them showing that Leia could use the Force because I just thought that happens in the books.
It wasn't a good way to do it, though.
It's just-
My dad is the biggest Star Wars fan ever, and he defends these movies not to the extreme Chris is, but he gives them a defense where he's like, I still enjoy watching all of them. Even he was like, yeah, no, this was Mary Poppins, and it wasn't Mary Poppins
well, you see-
hey,
Yeah,
don't interrupt
yeah.
me. It wasn't Mary Poppins like what they did in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, because that
yeah.
was acknowledging how ridiculous it looked.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Leia is the only survivor. She uses the Force to pull herself back into the ship, but she's now in a coma or something.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the shock of a human going into space really affects, and she was I would theorize she was able to somewhat protect herself with the Force. She was able to maintain, but she slips into a coma and goes into a healing pod to get her back on her feet, and Holdo takes over.
And also, I just thought it was complete BS that our famous general, it's a trap, Admiral, what was his name? Do you remember?
Akbar.
Akbar killed off screen. He was one of the other officers that got sucked out into space when the bridge was destroyed. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, here's the thing. Akbar mainly exists because that is such a meme of a line, it's a trap!
Right.
That, honestly, because do you know anything about his character other than the fact that he shouts in Return of the Jedi, it's a trap!
I know that
fair
he
enough.
looks like a goldfish.
Okay, we got the
Right.
goldfish. What else do you have for
All
him?
right, yeah, all right. Fair, well, fair enough.
I
It's just-
rest my case.
Fair enough. And he had a good cameo appearance in Force Awakens, but I mean,
Yeah, but
I can't imagine anything else they could do with his character. I just thought it was kind of dirty. He's just killed off screen.
I don't think so.
But anyway, so in the
You know,
story,
for the first time in this entire podcast, I have to agree with Christian. I'm just kidding. It's not the first time, but
Well-
there have been rare moments of that in this podcast.
yeah, very very rare. But anyway, so in the story, Holiday takes over. So Preston, what did you not like about the character?
I thought I get to go first. I was the one who let
Yeah,
us
he's
into
the one that
Holdo.
said
Good
that he-
Lord,
he-
Chris. Chris doesn't
all
like
right.
me.
Well, no, it's
Aiden,
all right.
go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, so Aidan,
Thank
you
you.
may go. So what was
So-
up with Holiday that you didn't like?
The fact that she was refusing to share the plan with Poe, the amount of problems that happened because Poe pressures Finn and Rose to go on their journey to find a way to sneak onto the First Order ship, but because of this, and they end up getting sold out, the actual plan gets exposed, and so many more rebels die. The only person at fault for those people dying was Holdo, simply because she didn't share what the plan was. Because evidently Leia and her discussed a plan. We find out about that, but we don't know what the plan is, and there is no reason for her to keep this a secret. She kind of says to Poe, she's like, "Oh, I don't like hot shots and whatnot, trying to run the ship, so I don't want to give you the plan." But it's just like, it doesn't work. And you want to know what's a simple little way to rectify this plan? Say there's a mole in the rebellion. That's it. You fix the problem. They don't even do that. So Holdo comes off as a complete idiot and just rude and refusing to be an actual leader and sharing the plans when we are on the run. Like, we cannot warp because the First Order can track us. So we are running. We've got nowhere to go. And we're hoping beyond hope that there's a plan. And your leader keeps saying, "Oh yeah, there's a plan." What's the plan? You don't need to know.
Well, you see, okay, I could see it both ways, but yes, it was annoying that she wouldn't share information with him. But for me, it's this guy, Poe's been demoted. He's just a regular rebel at this point. I have no authority to be sharing these plans with you after you just got how many of our men and women killed out there?
Yeah, look, I
You know?
get that, but the problem is she doesn't tell anyone the plan. No one knew except for her and maybe a select others, but why was the plan guarded so closely? Because here's the thing. How would you feel in Poe's shoes? Not even as the hotshot, just as a regular soldier.
Regular soldier.
The rebellion is down to a skeleton crew. We are on our last legs. And we cannot run at this point. We've got nothing.
Everyone will be panicking.
And the way you keep it calm is that you don't keep it calm by just saying we have a plan, but refuse to tell anyone, because that actually instills more fear. So they don't have a plan, do they?
You can give them parts of the plan and say there are some things we're holding back, but this is what you need to know.
And like I said, that's just because all you have to do to fix that problem is say that there's a traitor in the rebellion, and instead of having just this random goon that Finn and Rose find on the gambling planet, it is the traitor that sells them out and reveals everything, and you can have that, so it's more impactful that they're not getting portrayed by someone who does not show up again at all.
Yeah, you're right. That was a giant waste of plot development for a character.
It was a completely waste of a plot.
I completely forgot about that character until you just now brought it up.
Exactly.
That's how forgettable
here's
this
the thing,
is.
Even that traitor, he doesn't even have to die in this film, and he can be Poe's main foil, like how Phasma is Finn's foil, Kylo Ren is Rey's foil. This traitor could have been Poe's.
Yeah.
As
Right.
someone who lost faith in the rebellion and chose to sell them out to save himself. Whereas Poe, even in the rebellion's darkest hour, he believed. He kept fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait.
And the other thing, it's like, just going off of what Aiden was saying, there's something about this film. It's like Poe is treated as a villain.
Oh, yes.
Almost throughout this whole thing. Leia tasers him at the end for no reason.
Because, well, not exactly for no reason, because
Well, it's just like,
he
Leia's awake.
Let him finish, Chris.
Oh, no, sorry.
it's not for no reason, because Poe incites a coup because he doesn't trust Holdo with the leading us, and then Leia wakes up and tases him because she needed him to calm the hell down. And how else would you think, like, a guy who's just so riled up, he's so desperate that he throws in a last-minute coup, and you need him to calm down. You don't calm and just go, "It's fine, honey, it's fine." No, you shut that sucker down.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny. She just opens the door. "Oh, hi, Leia, you're awake." Bang, just shoots, just tases him. With just
Now, I will say, my view on Holdo, it was not the greatest character development I've ever seen, because literally not a single character in this entire movie was. But, like, I thought there were some interesting elements. Like, I liked the fact that she did have a plan and that she was kind of taking over Leia's place. I just feel like they could have done a lot more with her.
And they could have let it to be that she was, like, I know they wanted to make it so that Poe would be the one who would lead the rebellion after Leia was gone, but having her fill in the shoes, especially after Carrie Fisher unfortunately passed away, would have made sense.
Well, and here's the thing. What could be really interesting is if she was the mole you're talking about, and then have Poe actually step up and take over.
Yes, like I said, the whole point of just putting a mole in, which fixes so many plot holes and requires so little effort to put in, that fixes the problem. And then you have another one. And I know a big thing with Carrie Fisher's was making Star Wars more diverse. And it's working here.
right, yeah, absolutely. And in the next elephant in the room regarding this particular film. Now, I've heard a lot of opinions on this, and we were starting to get into that. The whole subplot of Finn and Rose going to that gambling planet, it overall adds nothing to the story, right?
I think, there is a bit that it was actually trying to add that I did like that Rian Johnson was going with.
Okay,
And that was the idea of war profiteering. These are people who, like, they have all the money in the world. They don't care about how this rebellion goes because they sell to both sides. They sell to the Imperials. They sell to First Order. They sell to the Resistance. They just want to make money. And it's just showing the real darker side of a war is that these people are profiting off of that. So it was meant to really shape Finn's view that just like being leaving this rebellion, being able to hide from the First Order, it's still going to feed these scars that they have to truly end this war and win. Otherwise, this type of world will keep happening. And another thing that I really wish they did is instead of Rose going on this trip, I would have had it as Finn and Poe.
Oh, you think so?
Because we get more time for like the trio to be together, just like how Han and Leia were together in Empire Strikes Back while Luke was off training. This time we get Finn and Poe together while Rey's off training, and it also, in my opinion, helps shape Poe a bit more as he gets further humbled, like how he was at the beginning when his bombing run left so many dead. He gets to realize his worldview on this war is broadened so much more, and he realizes just how important it is and how they have to do it the right way.
Right. Yeah, totally. I get that. Preston, would you have anything else to add?
No.
And so that plot wasn't necessarily skippable. I actually liked it. There were some moments I feel like could have been cut.
Yeah, a good amount of that plot line could have been trimmed down because a lot of it did feel unnecessary. It's more like for me, it's just like it's a constant thing of just seeing how, like, it's my biggest problem with this one because I feel like this one's while it is my favorite, it is the most disappointing of them all because it has so much potential that just needed very small tweaks.
Right, absolutely. And so trying to think where we can go from the story from this point.
I think
actually, you know what? There's moments in this plot that I wanted to talk about. How did you guys feel about the new force power that's introduced, where Kylo and Rey talk to each other from different places, but it feels like they're in the same room? I loved the scenes between those two. Those are some of my favorite parts of this film. What, Preston, you can go first. What did you think of those scenes?
I really liked that because I didn't feel like that particular thing with the Force was like lore breaking or magic breaking.
No. Like I just want to say off of that, because that wasn't like it was anything ridiculous like Rey being able to use a force power that requires a lot of training. This is just like, it honestly adds more mystery to it and wanting to intrigue, like investigate, what is this? Why are they connected? And for me, it's kind of led to the idea of them being siblings, kind of like how Luke and Leia had the connection. Like after Luke falls from Cloud City, he's able to reach out through the Force and call to Leia.
Yeah.
So a connection in the Force like this, it actually has been established in the past.
Right.
Just like the way it's shown in this one is very different than what we've seen, but it's not lore breaking at all.
No.
Keep going.
Yeah, I really like it because that's one of the few things that this trilogy did for character development that I really think they did right.
Yeah, like for me, I loved the kind of relationship that was forming between Rey and Kylo. I thought that was, I really liked it. Their interactions, I thought was pretty
Do
cool.
not tell me you're a Reylo supporter.
Kinda. I liked it.
I wouldn't say that it was a developing relationship. I would say that
very
it was
slowly, but it was kind of there.
I would have, like, I get, like, the idea of developing a relationship. It's more like feeling like Kylo Ren or Ben is actually more lost than anything else. Mm-hmm. But I did not like the idea of turning them to lovers, because that was just... No, I was not okay with that plot line.
Well, I thought it was okay. I mean, I didn't see much wrong.
Well, it could have worked, but I feel like it was just so uncomfortable watching, because there, in my opinion, like it was between like also Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. They did not have chemistry in that regard at all.
None.
I mean, and you gotta keep in mind though, it's like Rey's trying to help a man who just killed Han.
Someone who
like a week ago.
Yeah, like someone who she literally meets, and he instantly starts to fill in that fatherly role that she's been wanting. Literally in the previous movie, she calls him a monster, and now it's just like, oh
my! You know what's funny though? You know what it makes you think of? There was this. The movie Napoleon Dynamite. And you know that scene where his brother's talking with Uncle.
I know.
Yeah, he asks him, so how are you and that girl doing? He's like, well, you guys could say things are getting serious. There was a Star Wars meme of that scene, and it's a picture of Kylo, and he goes, well, we touched hands, so you could say things are getting serious.
You know what? They had more chemistry than he and Rey did. And they met online, and you don't see her until the third act of the movie.
Of the Napoleon Dynamite, yeah.
Of all the movies I would have guessed we could have a reference to in this podcast episode, I would have not have thought Napoleon Dynamite. But
yeah, but here we are. But so I believe so one last point that you want to talk about was what was it again, Aidan?
We're continuing what we're going with the Force Dyad, the connection between Rey and Kylo.
Right, and you were establishing earlier that this has been a explored dynamic.
It's
just expanding upon it.
Yeah, like the idea of people being connected over distances to the Force. It's been kind of like touched on, at least in the films, like I said, with Luke and Leia, and then and some elements in the books. This is just like exploring it in a different way, and I actually found it very interesting, especially in the way it was shot. Like kind of like it. This is going a bit of techniques of like them being on a 180-degree line. It's still shot like that, and like how they're actually like, it's not like them looking and just talking into their minds. It's like they're actually looking at each other and talking. And I'm just like, oh, that's actually quite intriguing.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot too. I mean, those are some of my favorite scenes in the film, and I thought that was really interesting. And we're at a hour and 15 minutes, which is up there on lengths in my recording. So we were actually going to
Oh my
call
God,
it.
we're so in tune with this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So like we're gonna call it on this one, and there will be a part 2 recorded
Yep.
very soon. And I had to say though, guys, for the first part, we're getting into this very well.
Oh yeah, we're getting
And-
into the nitty gritty, and we got so much more to talk about.
Yeah, and I can't wait to do part 2. Now, I know that I feel like this could have had a little bit of a rough start, but I mean, this is the first time that I'm doing this kind of thing, reviewing 3 films and kind of like debating, like, okay, I like these, you guys like certain elements, you know, so this is just a work in progress, but I think overall this turned out
Oh yeah, this
very
turned
good.
out just fine.
And plus, you've got Aidan here, and that's always going to dampen.
Shut up!
But,
After all I've done for you, Preston.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, we love you, man. And I just want to say, guys, Aidan, Preston, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Always a pleasure being here, buddy.
Yep. Yeah, we always have a good old time, and we hope that you enjoyed this recording, and we will be right back for part 2 of the sequel Star Wars Trilogy. So until next time, I am DJ Apollo with...
I'm Aiden.
And Preston.
You are listening to the Tales of Music and Film.